Alright, everybody, so here we go with round 7. I am currently 4.5 out of 6, and I still have a chance at winning the tournament if I win all the remaining 4 games. So, facing a candidate master. Looking forward to play the Joe Bava London. Opening up with d4, but he surprises me from move 1. I believe during my whole chess career, I've been playing chess for 15 years at this point. I've never faced a d4, b5 in an over-the-board game. And it's not like this was completely new to me. Opponent just tries to get me out of book by playing dubious opening. I go e4, and after a6, it's really not something all that special. We will get a position that is pretty much resembling hippo defense. So I'm gonna have an advantage, but it's not gonna be super easy to convert. E6. I go for short castle, not really much of an option right here. And after c5, this is the first big decision of the game. I know pretty much that black is threatening to go c4, and that would be winning the pawn on e4. So I'm considering my options between c3 and dc. Ideally, I knew I wanted to play c3 and reinforce the center, getting ready to take back with another pawn. But I wasn't super sure if after c3, black gets to go c4. How am I supposed to evaluate it? Is black gaining space, or is black overextending and I can punish him later on? Okay, looking at it now with the computer, of course, c3 is the better move, but what I played is also fairly interesting. I went dc5, and the whole point is that we're getting a pawn structure that is resembling the Sicilian defense. More of like a Paulsen Sicilian if you want. So after queen to e2, this is the honeymoon square for the queen, because we are supporting future a4, targeting these pawns, so the queen has pressure. Plus, it's also supporting central play while making room for the rook to occupy open file and get pressure on the distance against enemy queen. So the point is to just stay flexible for the time being and wait to see how opponent develops. According to that, we will choose the final squares for our pieces, because for instance, we might not have to rush developing the bishop, but if he plays d6, then that could potentially become a target and really makes bishop f4 a nice move. So knight c6, opponent is threatening to jump on b4 with a knight and win bishop pair, so I have to play c3, very important move. This can easily go unnoticed, but this type of little ideas, not allowing enemy jump that would by force win the bishop, these are the little ideas that make the difference between a 1000 elo player and a 2000 elo player. Allowing knight b4 gives black full equality, so knight e7. Now, this was an interesting moment because opponent was somewhat afraid to play the normal knight f6 due to e5. So he chooses a more passive square for knight, but on the other hand, it's a little bit safer. So since I can no longer get e5 and get a tempo attack on the king's side, I have to work with what I can on the queen's side. So I knew there is this a4 move to target b5, but he can advance. So I'm using a very nice little idea by playing b4, getting a tempo while fixing the hook. This is how I like to call this procedure. So we make sure that the b5 pawn cannot advance, and after bishop to b6, I'm planning to go a4. The whole idea with this move is that it is forcing my opponent to activate my rook, and we are also going to be creating a pawn weakness, a pawn target. This is a really important concept in chess, because at first you just try to win by using your pieces, but at higher levels it all comes down to creating a pawn target or a weak square and getting to work with that. This can be enough already to win the game. After a4, threatening to take on b5, swap rooks and collect the pawn. So opponent has to take. I take with the rook, creating a threat of taking the isolated pawn from the a file. So opponent doesn't have much of a choice. He goes a5, but the problem with a5, I can simply advance. b5, knight has to retreat. And after the knight will retreat, I'm already eyeballing something pretty juicy. After knight to b8, I'm considering the option of playing something like e5, and then maybe the rook can travel all the way to the king side. And I don't even need to get a visa for that. I don't need to ask my opponent for permission. I earn that because I do have the extra space. Why do I have extra space? This is center of the board. I have a pawn in the center and the opponent doesn't. In 90% of chess positions, the side that has more pawns in this little central quadrant will be better. Okay, it all comes down to that in positions with equal material, or at least I like to think this way. You can argue with me in the comments. I'm waiting for you guys in the comments. e5, e5, stepping on the gas, preparing the rook lift, preparing knight d4, knight c4 ideas. Also, I was considering maybe putting the bishop on this diagonal. I wasn't super sure where it belongs, but these are the moves that I am currently considering. d5, okay. d5 getting into more of like a French structure as we speak. Still, I felt like this was sort of a nice attempt for my opponent, because if he gets to play knight d7, c5, then wants to go all the way to e4 and make the position somewhat annoying. But e6, yes. What do you mean? How can you play e6? This is actually a position where I can en passant. Why can be clever to en passant here? We have a slight lead in development, although it may not look like that. But simply our pieces are ready to occupy attacking positions while my opponent is kind of caught on the back rank. And if he castles, that may be the last thing he does in this game. Because I have bishop h7, rook h4 ideas. e6. Opponent forced to recapture. And now I just felt like a cat in a house full of open boxes. What am I supposed to do? I have 1, 2 tempo bishop moves. I have rook d1 threatening discovery, another tempo move. I have a knight d2 preparing not 1 but 2 tempo moves. What should I play? This was just very difficult for me to figure it out during the game. I knew, objectively speaking, this has to be crashing. Opponent is breaking the rules of chess. He's opening up the position without having a safe place for the king. But putting all these details together with 9 minutes left on the clock, it's arguably not the easiest thing to do. Rook d1, so I'm starting with flexible move, just saying that if you ever want a castle, bishop h7, discovery check, picking up the queen. And also, in case of any knight d5, I was looking at potentially bishop e4 with c4. During the game, I felt like we'll have to sidestep with queen c7, but then I can use another tempo move, and once he plays queen c8, I mean, I have maybe a rook c4. There were just too many tempo moves about to happen. Knight d7. Okay, this caught me a little bit by surprise, but I mean, come on. It is the Polish opening. I've just opened up my opponent. I feel like we are in Dexter movie, and I just wrapped him in plastic tape. How do we do this? Bishop e4. Pressure move. Double attack, forcing opponent to retreat, and I'm setting up something devious. Or at least that's how I'm thinking it. Bishop e4, queen c7, and I'm setting up something devious. Can you guys try to guess in the comments? What am I planning to do against queen c7? It is not the best move, but it is probably the most shocking move. Wait, what? Opponent played queen b8. Never mind, it's still the same. The same idea applies. The same idea applies. Queen b8. Looks like opponent is about to solidify. Opponent has ideas to play either knight c5 or knight f6 and claim that the situation is pretty safe. But I'm about to unleash my what I believe to be well thought idea. Bishop f4. Hanging the bishop by the looks of it, but I had prepared to meet queen takes on f4 with a very explosive intermezzo. Rook takes on d7. If you take with the king, I have bishop c6 check. Take on c6, I take back, and then I take the queen. So my opponent instantly does not even want to do any business with that. He plays bishop c7. Ivalbar is going crazy, but my time is also going crazy. Only 4 minutes left. I know this has to be completely winning. But practically speaking, you need to be precise. Bishop takes on c7. Queen takes. Rook c4. Getting the tempo against the black queen. Opponent needs to be careful. There are ideas. No matter where you go, I can potentially play rook takes d7, knight e5. I remember calculating that during the game. Queen to b6. Ivalbar screaming +3. Screaming that the position is completely winning. But 2 minutes left on the clock. Not very obvious. I'm trying to make a sacrifice work, but I'm afraid I might have to stick with simple play. Bishop takes b7. I couldn't find something better. What to do? I have to make a move anyway. Even if I don't see the precise follow-up, show must go on. Knight e5. The point is that after knight e5, queen takes, I'm attacking g7 and it's difficult for black to castle because I have rook c7. Double attack. Knight to b6 from my opponent, trying to play with tempo and also avoiding to centralize my queen. Okay, I have a minute left on the clock. The position is very complex. I should not be giving such a huge time advantage to my opponent. Rook g4, not liking this move in handside. Rook g4, I wanted to go for the attack, but at this point opponent played one of my favorite moves in chess. Castle. Yes, there is no attack. Castling. Telling your opponent right to his face, dude, this makes no sense. You have a stupid rook on g4. There is no attack. My knight is going to be on f5. At the very least, I can play knight g6. What is your rook doing on g4? Seriously. Yeah, 30 seconds left on the clock. This is a dream situation for my opponent. He survived the opening and he has milked my clock. I still have a good position though. C4. Connecting the pawns, making room to develop the knight, taking away d5 square. This is still not over yet. Rook to c8. Bringing the rook into the game. Okay. Come on, Alex. You have to realize rook is stupid on g4. Back into the game. Centralizing. Rook d4. I lost the full tempo with that idiotic maneuver. But it's still fine. Knight f5. Targeting the rook. Okay, where do we go? We need the rook move. Cannot go d3. That hangs c4. Cannot go d7. That's taken by the knight. Rook d2. Best move by elimination. Rook d2. Passing the turn. Come on, opponent. Show me your brilliant idea. Rook c5, preparing to double up, pressuring the knight, wanting to go rook c8, telling me that c-pawn is soft. Okay, knight a3, and I'm actually looking forward to play knight c6, occupying the weak square. If I can get the knight on c6, if I can plant it there, the knight is gonna be even more powerful than a full rook. Now, at this point, what I remember is that opponent kept thinking, and it was difficult for me to remember my moves, and I had to recalculate because I knew if not knight e7, I will play knight c6, but on knight e7, I was supposed to play a different move. On knight e7, I think I wanted to go knight d7. Yes, that's about right. But I just remember with 10 seconds on the clock, while he was thinking, I would just constantly forget my calculation and try to redo it. However, I answer h6 with knight c6. Best move. Very much liking my position. Opponent's pieces are a little bit scattered all over the place. My coordination is just a little bit more compact. My pawn structure is just a little bit better. However, my time situation is really problematic. 17 seconds left. We do get 5 seconds each move, but it pretty much takes me 5 seconds to notice what my opponent just did. Rook takes on c6. I told you the knight is more powerful than the rook, so my opponent decides to sacrifice. I play queen e5. Opponent also down to 2 minutes. Opponent also down to 2 minutes. Now he has the choice to take on c4. I'll probably have to trade it then take on a5. Should be a draw, but I'm pressing. a4, trying to keep the pawn. I go queen b5. I've calculated this beforehand. My dream is to get a queen trade and play the endgame risk-free. So he declines the queen trade. Very good practical move. Queen c7. Queen c7, okay. I play c5. I saw he can go knight d5, but I feel like I can move the rook and then this pawn will be lost. Opponent wants to fork. Cannot allow the fork. Cannot allow the fork. Rook c1, defending the fork. Defending the fork, and I see queen f4, and I'm thinking queen c4, defend the rook with a tempo. Okay, queen c4, defend the rook with a tempo. Queen c4, defending with a tempo. Yeah. Thanks to that hallucination, which actually never happened to me before, I saw that my rook is being attacked, but I genuinely thought I'm protecting it. The chances of winning the tournament are mathematically over, but stay tuned because in the next game, we will try to get some redemption with the Jobava London. Muchachos, I'll see you in the next one.